Scripture Truth Ministries presents Revelation 9, verse 1 through 11, fulfilled. The American-led coalition intervention against ISIS in Syria, a 5-month time period that consisted of a containment policy-driven war that included commands to not harm the green grass or trees, coupled together with orders not to kill ISIS enemy combatants, which resulted in the torment of Muslim men without the seal of God on their foreheads. Scripture prophecy of Revelation 9, verse 1 through 11 has been fulfilled through the environmentally minded, global warming concern war that the American-led coalition forces waged on Islamic militants in Syria during a 5-month time span between November 2014 through March 2015. This video presentation will analyze and interpret Revelation 9, verses 1 through 11. Revelation 9, verse 1. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star, a demon, fallen from heaven to the earth. This fallen angel is Abaddon in Hebrew, Apollyon in Greek, as stated in Revelation 9, verse 11. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. I will discuss more on this demon when we get to verse 11. Revelation 9, verse 2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened, because of the smoke of the pit. Revelation 9, verse 3. Then, out of the smoke, locusts, armored helicopters, came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Revelation 9, verse 4 through 5. They, American-led coalition forces, were commanded by U.S. President Obama not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, out of environmental global warming concerns, but only those men, ISIS military combatants, who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads, and they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. They, American-led coalition armed forces, were commanded with global warming, climate change concerns in mind, not to harm the grass, green things, or any tree. U.S. President Obama, in his environmentally minded war on ISIS, also did not order the bombing of ISIS oil infrastructure because of global warming environmental impact concerns. Muslim men do not have the seal of God, figuratively speaking, on their foreheads, meaning on their minds. They reject the God of the Holy Scriptures and worship their God, Allah, through the writings of the Quran. They reject Yeshua, Jesus, as the Son of God, and believe in their so-called prophet, Muhammad, as the messenger of their God, Allah. They, American-led coalition forces, did not have authority to kill ISIS military combatants. When American commanders authorized the bombings of ISIS buildings and petroleum trucks, they first ordered their pilots to drop leaflets on the ground targets, giving the Islamic combatants at least 45 minutes of advanced warning notice to flee for their lives. Muslim men knew that their buildings and petroleum trucks were about to be destroyed, which gave them ample time to escape before the bombs dropped. Coalition forces, while protecting the lives of Islamic combatants, tormented them. ISIS Muslim military personnel, men who did not have the seal of the true God on their foreheads, were not grateful for the leaflets that American-led coalition forces dropped on them to spare them their lives, but were enraged and tormented as their military buildings, equipment, and supplies were destroyed. Revelation 9, verse 5 through 6. Their torment, the torment of ISIS Muslim men by fighter jets, armored helicopters, and drones, was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. In those days, Muslim men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. Many Islamic militants and other Muslim extremists desire to die for their God, Allah. Many Islamic combatants would have preferred to die in battle than to be spared their lives. America's policy of containing ISIS combatants and not killing them was torment to ISIS Muslim men. The locusts of Revelation 9 represent armored helicopters. Jet fighter planes and drones were also the instruments of torment to ISIS Muslim men. An interesting side note is that the torment of ISIS-affiliated Muslim men by American-led coalition forces was fulfillment of scripture prophecy, Revelation chapter 9 through verse 11, reflecting the date of the September 11th Islamic terrorist attacks committed against America, which occurred on 9/11/2001. Revelation 9, verse 7. The shape of the locusts, helicopters, was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns, rotor masts, of something like gold, and their faces, pilots in the cockpits, were like the faces of men. Revelation 9, verse 8 through 10. They had hair like women's hair, helicopter rotor blades, and their teeth, artistic design, painted images of teeth, were like lions' teeth. And they had breastplates, landing skids, like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings, helicopter blades, and also jet fighter wings, was like the sound of chariots with many horses running into battle. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings, rockets in their tails. Their power was to hurt men, Muslim men, 5 months. The American-led coalition intervention in Syria began on September 22, 2014. The scripture prophecy of Revelation 9, verse 5 and 10 was fulfilled, which states, "Those men who do not have the seal of God, figuratively speaking, on their foreheads, Muslim men, would be tormented for 5 months. ISIS Muslim men were tormented as their military buildings, equipment, and supplies were destroyed, but they were not targeted to be killed, and were not killed by U.S.-led coalition forces from November 2014 through March 2015. Revelation 9, verse 11. And they, the coalition forces, had as king over them U.S. President Obama, the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he has the name Apollyon. U.S. President Barack Obama was the commander-in-chief of the American-led coalition forces which intervened in Syria to combat ISIS militants, playing his part in fulfilling scripture prophecy, Revelation 9, verse 1 through 11. U.S. President Obama was not actually the angel of the bottomless pit, so he therefore was possessed by Abaddon, also known as Apollyon, a fallen angel, a demon of the bottomless pit. Obama, under the demonic influence of Abaddon, Apollyon, carried out this demon's directives. The four blood moons of 2014 and 2015. Many prophecy watchers were looking at Israel during the Tetrad set of four blood moons that occurred on God's feast days between April 15th, 2014 and September 28th, 2015, anticipating a major prophetic event to be fulfilled. Many prophecy scholars noted that these events landed on Jewish feast days, and thus they were expecting something monumental to occur in the state of Israel. During previous Tetrad blood moon cycles that fell on God's feast days, in 1493 to 1494, 1949 to 1950, and 1967 to 1968, significant events surrounding the Jewish people did take place. In 1492, during the Spanish Inquisition, the Jews in Spain were issued the Alhambra Decree, also known as the Edict of Expulsion, by the joint Catholic monarchs of Spain, ordering practicing Jews of Spain to leave Spain within 4 months. In 1948, the State of Israel was born, and Jews around the world once again had a homeland. In 1967, Israel expanded its territory and secured its country, winning the Six-Day War. Many prophecy watchers naturally expected that the Tetrad blood moons of 2014 to 2015, which also fell on Jewish feast days, would also bring about a prophetic event in Israel. That did not happen. Many scripture scoffers have since mocked the Tetrad blood moons of 2014 and 2015 as inconsequential. Leviticus 23, verse 2. The feasts of Yahweh the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, these are my feasts. The feast days, which are rightly observed by the Jews, are actually God's feast days, not Jewish feast days. Therefore, blood moons that fall on God's feast days could signal a prophetic event to occur anywhere on God's earth. Summation. Historical events of scripture prophecy were fulfilled during the 2014 through 2015 Tetrad blood moon cycle. The American-led coalition intervention in Syria began on September 22, 2014. Soon afterward, U.S. President Obama initiated a containment policy in which leaflets were dropped on military targets, giving Islamic enemy combatants time to flee their military buildings, equipment, and supplies in order to spare them their lives. During a 5-month period, from November 2014 through March of 2015, dates that fell within the 2014 through 2015 Tetrad blood moon cycle, U.S.-led coalition forces bombed ISIS military targets, which was torment to Islamic militants, men without the seal of God, figuratively speaking, on their foreheads. Additionally, the U.S.-led coalition forces were commanded to not harm the green grass or trees during their bombing runs because of environmental, global warming concerns. During the blood moons of 2014 to 2015, Muslim men, those without the seal of the true God on their foreheads, were tormented for 5 months, as the green grass and trees among them were not harmed. Revelation 9, verse 4 through 5. To see the details and to verify the information presented in this video concerning the 5-month containment bombing campaign in which ISIS military buildings, equipment, and supplies were destroyed, but no Islamic combatants were killed, check Wikipedia's website and search American-led intervention in the Syrian civil war. Then scroll down to the timeline section and read from November 2014 and through March of 2015.